So there's a brand new channel on YouTube called Think Free, and they just released their very first man on the street video, and it went completely viral. This video is called, "Can Floyd Mayweather Box Women If He Identifies as Female?" Now, I would say that this would be, the responses are incredibly shocking and all this, but you guys are used to it, all right? But there are a handful of scenes that we definitely have to unpack, and we're gonna do that in just 1 second. But first, you guys, huge shout out to the locals community, shout out to everyone already over there, and massive shout out to the monthly supporters. I just got back from Oregon. We're filming all week over there. We would like to be doing more of that, and that's not doable and that's not possible without your guys' support. So thank you guys so much for being over there, supporting the channel, get behind the scenes footage, all that great stuff, and chat with me over here. It's free to join, and you can pay monthly for as little as $5 a month if you would like. JamesKlug.locals.com, link down below. One more announcement: After Hours with James Klug got moved to a release date of May 20th. My car channel, if that is something that sounds interesting to you guys, it's going to be an excellent channel. If you're into cars, definitely go subscribe. Link down below as well. So, can Floyd Mayweather box women if he identifies as female? At this very moment, this video has over 450,000 views. This is their first street video. It is so well done. And that is one hell of a title. Let's jump into it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys all confidently say yes?
Yes.
Do you think that would be a fair fight?
Yes.
If the organization forced the female box?
Of course it would be a fair fight. Absolutely. Yes. They're not. These people aren't even hesitating.
Boxers to have to compete, and
Yes.
they had no choice. Okay.
Yeah. So a female boxer in his same weight class? Yes. At that point, she would be a woman, and I think it's problematic to say that a woman cannot be as strong as Floyd Mayweather, I guess. No.
Why is that problematic to say that? There are biological differences. Why is that not okay to say that? In their own weight class, Floyd Mayweather, I mean, do I even need to say this? He would obliterate a woman in his own weight class. It's problematic to say that a man couldn't fight women in the Women's League of Boxing. And specifically Floyd Mayweather we're talking about here, right?
I think my perspective is a little different because I'm in sport. I play hockey, so like skating and stuff, like no way. They're automatically faster, stronger.
That's super interesting, and that's something that we find on the street as well. And it's funny that he's seeing that in this video is, well, I guess maybe it's more common sense. Anybody that's actually competing, anybody that is involved in sports understands the differences. You would think that common sense, even if you weren't a competitive, athlete, you would think that common sense would just lead you down that path of saying, no, obviously it's not fair. But the athletes, the actual athletes really know the difference.
Probably not. I mean, I see both sides
He would
of the
kill.
argument.
He would kill someone.
Correct take. What do we mean seeing both sides of the argument? But yes, Floyd Mayweather would kill somebody.
How I feel about
I think the physical strength obviously is very unfair, but I'm all about trans rights and everything like that, and equality with gender and everything. So that's why I kind of get sticky in a situation.
I believe.
It's insane how far, particularly young women, are willing to go when it comes to, oh, well, as long as I can say I'm all for equality, I don't want to be criticized for saying anything other than that. That's what I want to be seen as. I'm for equality, and therefore Floyd Mayweather can box women. I mean, that is how far they are willing to go. They are so afraid of being criticized. And that's why she had to say that right there. I have this all the time when I'm talking to people. They know they're on camera, obviously, and they will say stuff just to make sure that they're pleasing the mob. And that little thing right there, you don't need to say that. I'm all for, trans rights. I don't even know what that means, but you don't need to add that to, no, Floyd Mayweather should not be allowed to box women if he were to just randomly identify as female. It's absurd.
I say no because men are built different, they're stronger, and I just think this is not equal.
Yeah.
I think the same thing. I think that there's a different strength involved, and I think that, masculinity is also a thing. I don't think that it would be a fair fight.
Common sense, ladies. Thank you so much. Common sense. That's what we needed. That's pretty interesting right there. I actually would have, when we got in LA, let's say, when we're doing videos along these lines, what you'll find often, And I've actually even talked to Billboard Chris about this because he's traveling all over North America talking to students and people about how children can't consent to puberty blockers. Similar to this topic, obviously. And a lot of these supporters are young white women. That's who's really spearheading these movements. It's really odd. And probably many of them that just aren't athletes as well, if I were to guess. But you will see, talking to, let's say, black men or black women in Los Angeles, this is just an observation, they will not buy into this. They will absolutely not buy into this. They're much more just, okay, does this make sense? No, absolutely not. Okay, I'm going to say that. A lot less fear of the mob coming after them. It's very interesting.
I think that'd be unfair for the women who train their whole lives to compete in the sport. And then you have a biological male that does transition to female and just to compete in their sport, and she would win most of the titles in that division.
Having already won 15.
Exactly.
I still feel like it might be unsafe, especially for his caliber of how great he is.
Really quick, it is something that it's probably the number one thing being ignored. Because it's always about, well, we want to be inclusive to these men that are identifying as women. They're just calling themselves women, and they're going beating the living hell out of women in their sports. We want to be inclusive. We want to be tolerant. But what about all the other women's feelings? What about the female athletes, the biological female athletes? What about them? These women train, competitive athletes, they train their entire lives to win championships, get scholarships, all of this stuff. And then you just have somebody that comes into the sport and they physically can't compete, not even close. What about them? I'm glad that he brought that up.
What would you say if I told you today that people answered yes to this question? I've had multiple people that I interviewed who said it would be a fair fight.
I just don't believe that in any way, shape, or form. I get the thought behind it. Once they transition and they take the hormones, you can compete at that level technically, but that just doesn't sit well with me.
Technically, you can't. You already have bigger lung capacity, hands, bone density, everything. You have an unfair advantage competing against women. I think one of the most interesting parts about this video is this is the most absurd title for a video I think I've even seen for a man on the street video. Can Floyd Mayweather box women? What is Floyd Mayweather? The best boxer in the world? Or at least top 3 in world history? Can Floyd Mayweather box women if he identifies as female? A few years ago, I wouldn't have even gone out to film this video because it would have been a waste of time, right? It would have been a waste of time. Nobody would have said yes. It would be ridiculous. But now this video is possible. And oftentimes I'm finding that videos that were impossible a few years ago, you'd be spending all day and you'd find everybody said no and you're like, okay, let's just go home. We should have done a different topic that was more realistic for the issues that are going on today. But the fact is, the left has gone so crazy and radical gender theory has gone so crazy that topics like this are actually doable. All right, so he does a great job transitioning into a next topic, talking about Fallon Fox, another fighter. Let's jump into it.
Fallon Fox, who's an MMA fighter, also went through puberty as male, identifies as female, fractured a woman's skull during a fight.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Scary
I don't
scene.
think they should be able to fight women or whoever that was.
I think they should be able to fight other athletes that maybe identify as they do. That'd be more fair.
Oh, isn't it like boxing? It's just dangerous overall.
Yeah, anybody could fracture someone's skull. I mean,
You can, but you have a much higher chance, I think, especially if you have a biological advantage, with your bone density, with your higher center of gravity, all the things that are advantaged by going through puberty.
So good on him for clarifying that with people, pushing back on that, not just letting them say that, but just them saying that alone. Anybody, we got to go back.
yeah, anybody could fracture someone's skull. I mean,
You can.
Anybody can fracture somebody's skull. I mean, it happens all the time. I would argue, I would feel comfortable making the argument that a biological male fracturing a biological female skull would be there's a lot higher chance of that than women fighting women. Is that a controversial take?
are they not all being injured like that, right? Are there
So if everybody's being injured, it's fine then if a man is fracturing a woman's skull.
Well, again, trans women are women, so.
Oh my gosh. It's a cult. Yeah, these people are unable to think outside of the cultish mentality. They can't get outside of that. Because if they're going to break away from the, trans women are women, I understand wanting to be accepting of people as they're adults. You make decisions in your life, and it's like, okay, just try to be a decent person, treat that person with respect, fine. But these people have gone way too far with adopting that mentality of no, screw biology, ignore the science, ignore all of that. Trans women are women, and therefore Mayweather or other fighters can fight women, and that's totally fine. Because to say that that's not fine would be backtracking on that claim that trans women are women.
USA Powerlifting just lost a lawsuit because they refused to let someone compete in women's sports who went through puberty as a male but identifies as female.
Okay, so here's a few responses from the USA Powerlifting lawsuit.
I would say, yeah, if we're trying to be inclusive, it's not their fault that they already went through puberty as a male. And if they identify as a female and if they went through the necessary hormone blocker precautions, I don't see why it's against the rules for them to compete with women.
What is inclusive about completely destroying a sport? These women are working day and night, watching their diets, training all day, prepping, and trying to compete, win championships, all this stuff. Is that inclusive of the women and giving them a fair chance at actually winning that title? Is that fair to the women? And that's what's always being ignored. What's always being ignored here is what is fair to the women that are actually competing in these women's sports. They're not going to compete in men's sports. They're competing against women. They want to make the argument that they want to be fair to this one person and completely ignore all the other women.
What about the women that they're competing against? Is it their fault either? So should they have to compete, even if they feel like it's unfair?
I guess so. I don't know.
Good question from Matt from Think Free. That great follow-up, because you got to put them on the spot. What about the women? Nobody talks about the women. Everyone's ignoring them. You won't find that position from females that are athletes. Very rarely, I would say. You will not find that from them because they understand that. They understand that it's not fair. You will find that from people like this, and they are spearheading the movement, and people are afraid of people like this. They're afraid of being called wrongly accused of being a bigot, a transphobe, or whatever. They're so afraid of that they will listen to people like this. When they have the position, when they hold the position that Mayweather can box women and it's fair to the women, right? In a normal society, you just scoff at these people and completely reject their radical ideology because it's objectively absurd. Let's wrap this up. We have a finishing message from Matt, and I did want to show you guys this one part because I think it's a really interesting takeaway.
We talked to very few guys today who actually had the opinion that Floyd Mayweather should be able to box biological women. The women that we talked to were more likely to actually say yes to that question. All that's anecdotal, so we could run into different people in a different place. And
so it's so interesting that it brings this up, because not only do I experience this when I talk about radical gender theory, right, with people all over the coast, whether it be Laguna Beach, Los Angeles, Venice Beach, anything like that. This is the same outcome that I end up with, particularly when it comes to men if they are athletic men. I know Billboard Chris likes to say if they look like they could do 20 push-ups, they completely reject this ideology. And it actually is true. I was having this conversation, I think I already touched on this, but I was having this conversation with Billboard Chris in Portland when I was there, and he travels all of North America. And that's his findings all over North America. Athletes and men that can do over 20 push-ups reject this insane ideology. But let me know what you guys thought about Think Free's first Man on the Street video. I think it's amazing. And if you guys want to check out the full video, we only highlighted a handful of parts. If you guys want to check out the full video, I'll put a link down below. They just started. They're almost at 2,000 subscribers. definitely go subscribe to this guy. He did such a great job editing, putting the video together. He pushed back when things were absurd. He let people speak. He did a great job. So definitely go show him your support. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that bell notification button so you're notified next time I post. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Great job. Go subscribe to him. I'm not even subscribed. Look, there you go. I subscribed to him too.